Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion. Today's daf is Nazir daf Yud Ches number 18. Um, we've talked the last couple of dafim about Mishnayos. You take a Nazirus base akvaros. You take a Nazirus while you're tummy with corpse tumor, or in a cemetery where you're an OL. You're acting as a tent for tumas hames, and of course you can become tummy aviyavis tuma. In those cases, right? We paskin, we have machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Ishlach. She paskin Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says the Nazir is chal. Obviously, it's not chal till you leave the thing. You even get malchus. You get malchus. But the Mishnah clearly said, I believe on top of Ted Zion, that you don't bring a korban tomb. You have to once you leave the cemetery. So then you have to retire yourself for 7 days, right? Obviously, keep away from corpse tomb for 7 days. Sprinkle mei chatas on the third day and the seventh day. Immerse yourself in the mikvah on the seventh day. And then you start counting your Naziris. And according to the Brisa, which clearly says you can even on the seventh day, once you immerse yourself in the mikvah, you can go and start counting your Naziris. No one argues on that. Everyone agrees you can start counting. The question is, if you accept the Naziris Betara, a regular Naziris, and then you became Tameh, so then you have a new process. You have to not only purify yourself from the corpse tumah, a 7-day purification process, which is exactly as above, as the Nazir who accepted himself based on Karos, but also you have to shave your body, and also you have on the 7th day. On the 8th day, you have to bring korbanos. Going asham, chatas, and ola. Chatas ola are birds, and the asham is a kevis, is a lamb. So you have to do all those things, and you can't start counting until the 8th day, right? And there's a difference, a fundamental difference. So there is a fundamental difference that's going on over here. What exactly is a Naziris when you're makabel and basic course? Is that exactly the same thing as a Naziris when you're makabel betara? Or are they fundamentally different? It seems from this halakha there's somewhat of a difference. So I'd like to suggest as follows, that when you're a Nazir Beis HaKvaros, when you take a Naziris, when you're already in a cemetery. Now, one of the things about Naziris is that you can't become in contact with corpse tumah. So to say that the Naziris is chal entirely, you can't say entirely, because right now it's like when you're tovel with a sheretz biyada, you go into the mikvah and you're holding a sheretz, right? You're holding a sheretz is a creepy crawly thing which makes you tameh. So you can't get tara when you're holding on to it. Similarly, you can't have we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan. You could it's chal the Naziris. When is it chal? When you leave the cemetery, but it's chal partially, and you even get malchus if you potentially remain in the cemetery after they told you to get out. So it is a Naziris. It is even right now it's a partial Naziris. In fact, you get malchus, right? So for the corpse that you're in the cemetery, by waiting around a little bit, maybe even if you don't wait around a little bit, you would also get some tizateko, the Gemara says. So there is some sort of Naziris that's chal, but it can't be a complete Naziris. So this is where I'd like to introduce the difference between the two different types of Naziris. There's a Naziris, as I mentioned, of 30 days, Stam Naziris, Shloshim Yom, Hareini Nazir, right? 30-day Naziris. That Naziris is like a crown on your head. It's a Nazir. It's a mitzvah, actually, to do that. It's a 30-day period of Naziris. You're not becoming a maneuver or a disgusting person. 30 days is shorter than most people's interval between most people's haircuts. So you're actually, and by not being Tam Mason, you're actually being a delicate type of person, mufunak, a delicate type of person, and you're not going to become in contact with tummy people. You're not going to be a teetotaler. You're holier than thou. You're sanctimonious. It's a mitzvah sometimes to actually take an Nazirus upon yourself, to elevate your status and to say that you want to be someone who takes care of themselves. You're not going to be going to cemeteries. You're not going to drink alcohol. You're going to get a haircut in the right time. You're going to get a haircut, more often than a regular person, which it's interesting, but that's really what it is. That's a crown on your head, and that's like a neder, whereas this on the chefsa, instead of on a chefsa, the neder, the Naziris is on your head. It's on the gavra. It's like taking a nether on your head, and as opposed to an adarim, which you said is a bad thing. Naziris is actually a mitzvah, I believe. It's a mitzvah in that case, and therefore the surim, right, that you can't be matamal amasim, you can't drink wine, and you can't get a haircut. Those are byproducts of the fact that I have a chefsa. I'm a chefsa shel Naziris. I have a crown on my head. When you have a crown on your head, you're in a ben shel melech, and you're a prince or you're a king. You don't do these things. You don't engage. You don't go to cemeteries. You don't drink alcohol in public. You're not gonna, you'll get your haircut more often. So it's actually, elevating your status. You're someone that really cares about hygiene. You care about taking care of yourself maybe more than the regular person. So it could be sometimes it's a mitzvah to do that, and it's a mitzvah on the goof of the person. However, when you take an Naziris in a cemetery, and you're tovel b'sharis b'yado, you're in the middle of tuma. So even though we say that's chal, it can't be chal legamra. It's not chal on the chefza. It's chal on the gavra, right? All you've done is accepted. It's like a neder, where I accept a shvua. Sorry, it's like a shvua on the gavra, where I accepted. Okay, I take a naziris, but included in my naziris is 3 yisurim. I can't drink wine. I can't get a haircut, and I can't be tam on the mesa. In that case, it's an isra on the gavra, and that is a naziris, which I don't believe is a mitzvah. And what's the prototypical example? Because harini nazir, stam naziris is 30 days. Right? If you take a nazir for 30, harini nazir l'shloshim yom, or harini nazir l'meya yom, right? A lot of time when you say a certain amount of days, it has to be at least 30 days. But usually it's going to be more. If you're going to say, why would you say harini nazir shloshim yom if you could just say harini nazir and it's 30 days? So harini nazir, when you're going to say yomim, right? Once I say I'm a nazir for 100 days, so the isser is not on my head, on the chefs, on my body. The isser is not on my body. The isser in the zirus is in the days, right? I specify days. I'm a nazir for 30-day periods. Basically, it's the same thing as saying a shvua that I'm not going to drink wine for 30 days, or a shvua I'm not going to get a haircut I'm not going to get a haircut for 100 days. I'm not going to be metal mason for 100 days. So there's an isser on the gavra. There's no way, because you're in a cemetery, you can't accept a crown upon yourself. You can't crown yourself when you're in contact with dead people, right? Kings are not found in the cemetery usually. So you're not crowning yourself. All it is because you're in the base like pharaohs. Even if you say harini nazir, right? It's only nisr gavra. It's the same thing as saying harini nazir l'meya yom, right? Where this is the days, not the person. So in that case, that's an aveira to become a nazir like that, unless you're someone who, like the Gemara says, he's scared of his yetzer hara. Like the Gemara says, he grows his hair very long, which is a shaches or he's destroying his hair by growing it so long. Doesn't look good. You're taking this just for 100 days. That you're making yourself look disgusting. You're not going to bury people. You're going to ostracize yourself from the community. You're not going to go to funerals of people, right, for a long amount of time. You're not going to drink alcohol. You're not going to be able to move from a brios. People drink alcohol on Shabbos tables anywhere. So by not drinking alcohol, by not doing these things for such a long amount of time, for a certain amount, like a large amount of days, that's a disgusting thing, and that's an avera usually, unless, right, you have a good reason to do it. But that's like an avera lishma. But stam nazir, harini nazir for shloshim yom is a mitzvah. Otherwise, it's an avera, and that's why the difference over here. If you're a nazir veisak faros, right? So you don't pay a carbon tumah, you don't shave your head over here. The reason you don't do that because that's only the din of bringing karbanos on the 8th day and shaving your body on the 7th day. That's when you're a complete nazir, right? A nazir that's on the gavra, and you became tamei. Unfortunately, you became tamei. So it defiled you completely. You not only you accept these surim naziris, you have a crown on your head. Now you came in contact with tuma, unfortunately. So you lost that crown. It's a pretty big deal. So you have to not only just count 7 days of Torah, you also have to bring karbanos. You also have to shave your head because you ended, a tremendously significant part of your life, a 30-day period of your life that was ended prematurely. It's an avera. It's a bad thing which happened. It's a terrible calamity which happens. Therefore, you have to signify that by bringing karbanos. It wasn't a bad thing which happened. And you also have to shave your body, as opposed to another base like faros, where he's only accepting the Isra on the gavra, so he has tumah in the base like faros. So all he has to do is the regular tara from a 7-day purification process. Once he goes to the mikveh, he can already on the 7th day mix him kekula. He can start counting his naziros. We'll talk more about this going forward, but that's basically the 2 different types of naziros. One time it's a mitzvah, other times it's avera. We'll try to prove this more as we go forward. Nazir. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.